a spirit roams the valley, a spirit personified through individuals whose selfless actions and dedication to goodness permeate the Kanawha Valley. This year, the Charleston YMCA dedicates the words of St. Francis to John Frampton McGee for charity and wisdom, patience and humility. McGee says he has always had a tendency to save the world, a tendency that started at a young age when he determined to save this little family of turtles in his neighborhood. As this young hero grew older, the tendency grew stronger. McGee had a boyhood fascination with the military that would later combine his patriotic spirit with a career in the Army. When he was 16, McGee started at Davidson College in Charlotte, North Carolina, where he was involved in the ROTC. Upon graduation, he joined the United States Army and a few months later arrived in Normandy. McGee served as a captain in World War II and received numerous honors, including 2 Purple Hearts. And it was his heart that would eventually lead him to Charleston, West Virginia. He had always been active in church and struggled with the decision to pursue a career in ministry. Realizing that he could serve others and follow his passions, he pursued a career in journalism and landed a job in Charleston that would prove to be a defining moment in his life. The Valley would become a pivotal place for his humanitarian efforts and the beginning of a wonderful marriage to his wife, Ruth. On a cold, snowy night just after Christmas in 1969, McGee drove over the West Virginia mountains to embrace a new career in Charleston as president of the Daily Mail. Working with one of his dearest friends and mentor, Lyle B. Clay, McGee quickly became president of the Newspapers Agency Corporation and eventually president of Clay Communications in a career that spanned 20 years. Clay had these words to say: "When I asked Lyle Baker, revered newspaperman from Louisville, Kentucky, about having John associate with me in our operations, he said, 'You two would be perfect together. You deserve each other.' I have never figured out what he meant by that. The important thing was our association worked, and we are still good friends today." McGee has served on the boards of Charleston Area Medical Center, the University of Charleston, and the Business Industrial Development Corporation. He is also a member of the United National Bank Board of Directors and continues to advance the Valley as Vice Chair for the Clay Center Project. He is also active supporting ministry at the First Presbyterian Church in Charleston. McGee served as president of the West Virginia Associated Press and on the executive committee of the Board of Directors of the AP in New York. He traveled to more than 40 countries in 9 years, strengthening press operations for AP journalists overseas and building international press relationships. McGee has always been an ambitious man and a man with a point of view, a man whose humanitarian endeavors travel well beyond our valley's borders to serve not only locally, but nationally and globally as well.
John McGee is nosy, and I guess the more polite, almost journalistic word would be John McGee is curious, but I kind of like nosy. I've seen him be nosy in countries across the globe. John is driven by curiosity. He was interested in everything. Wherever it was, McGee wanted to understand it, and that's a journalistic skill of the highest order.
McGee is an educator. He is continually involved in world press matters and has spent time in South Africa, Zimbabwe, and also in Kenya, teaching at the Graduate School of the University of Nairobi.
He and his lovely Ruth have done so much for the cause of journalism, and more specifically of journalism education. John brought a passion to all of this, and I think that's really the characteristic that sticks most with us here at the Associated Press. So I salute him on this happy occasion for you. I salute Ruth. I tell you both that we miss you greatly, and I tell you that we were far better for your having come our way.
He has received an honorary degree from Davidson College and continues to support the institution in the area of international studies.
He is one of the most generous people I have ever met. And the grand glory of it is that when John McGee is for you, he is really for you.
McGee says he is very much a family man, a friend, and a Republican. Very Republican. But his friendships transcend politics, since his best friend is a Democrat.
When you're governor, everybody is willing to give you advice, and oftentimes it's not solicited advice. John was a person that I used to go to ask him for his advice as a friend and as a person who I knew really loved West Virginia. John, I'm very sorry that I cannot be there in person to look you in the eye and say, thank you for all you've done for this valley.
But McGee isn't just known for his generous contributions or his hardball business face. Comic relief is another one of his many attributes. Friends say John McGee even likes to laugh at himself. Above all of his accomplishments and successes, McGee says the most important part of his life is his wife, Ruth. The two met in Charleston, South Carolina, and were married shortly after McGee's move to West Virginia. He and Ruth have spent more than 30 years in the Valley enjoying their beautiful family, the family that John says has been his inspiration. Friends say that John and Ruth are a wonderful team. You never see one without the other. McGee's unending service is outstanding, and he gives credit to timing. So much so, in 1996, he wrote a book about it. He says it was timing that brought him to Charleston, and in turn, it was time and so much more that John F. McGee would give to the Valley, his family, and his friends. Charleston and McGee have been good to each other, and it is people like John F. McGee and all of the recipients that help the YMCA keep the spirit of service alive in our greater Kanawha Valley.